Okay, friends, if you missed the riveting fireside chat about ACT writing style, I'm here to give you the short and long of it, I guess. All right, so basically, here's the deal. When you write the ACT writing prompt, there are some things that you need to know. Some of you may have already taken the ACT. You're still going to have to do the writing prompts. The study that we're going to do on writing, preparing for the ACT, will also help you with other writing. There's a lot of really important information in there, and so um, when we do like the ACT practice tests, you won't need to worry about those. But every time we do ACT style writing prompts and information, yes, you will need to do that. So this is for everybody. All right, it will be a 5-paragraph essay that you write. And when you actually take the test, it is going to be a 40-minute limited test. So you have to write a 5-paragraph essay in 40 minutes. And some of you, that's a little freaky, and understandably so. But I am going to do my best to prepare you for that. So let's get to it. All right, first of all, I want to tell you that your introduction and conclusion will be very much shortened up. In fact, they will sit for both of them. And when you write your introduction, you will have an attention getter, and then you will have your counterclaim, and then you will refute it. So some of you are like, I don't really know what that means. Okay, that's fine. Let me explain it. So when you go into the ACT, they're going to give you a topic, and you have no choice about the topic. Whatever topic they give you, that's what you're writing about. But they will also give you 3 options on how you want to argue that. So, for example, if Romeo and Juliet is a text that most people are familiar with, so let's say that the topic was who is most responsible for the death of Romeo and Juliet? Then they will give you 3 options that you can argue. Option number 1 might be Romeo and Juliet's parents are mostly responsible. Option number 2 might be Friar Lawrence is mostly responsible. And option number 3 might be Romeo and Juliet are responsible for their own deaths. So your job is to pick one of those and then to argue reasons why you are taking that stance. Now, importantly, you cannot say I, me, my, you, your, us, we. Don't include yourself. Don't include the reader. So don't say I believe Friar Lawrence was most responsible. Don't say I think Romeo and Juliet's parents were most responsible. You're going to state your opinion as a fact. So Friar Lawrence was most responsible for the deaths of Romeo and Juliet. All right. Now you need an attention getter. So as you know, this is a play about love and death. So I might pick one of those topics to start as an attention getter, and it could be something as simple as love very often leads to conflict. Okay. Then I give my counterclaim. My counterclaim is the opposite of what I actually believe. So if I'm arguing for Friar Lawrence, I want to introduce a counterclaim that might say something like this. Many people might argue that Romeo and Juliet's parents are most responsible for their deaths because of how set in their ways they were. Okay, so that's sentence number 2. But then I need to refute it with my claim, which is, however, starting your refute line with however is always a great way to start. So, however, Friar Lawrence, comma, being a holy man as a friar, comma, is actually most responsible for the deaths of these 2 teens. My intro is done. I can now move on. Now, most times when you write a speech, when you write a 5-paragraph essay, you are going to break that down into your 3 body paragraphs, being the 3 reasons why, whatever it is that you're arguing. Well, in the case of the ACT prompt, you will only need 2 reasons. You'll still need 3 body paragraphs, but body paragraph A will be reason number 1. So if I'm arguing that Friar Lawrence is the guy who's responsible, then maybe I'm going to say it's because he was a holy man And then I'm going to talk about how he should have been honest, but he wasn't. He should have tried to, incorporate the parents into it, but he didn't. After the marriage and the banishing of Romeo and Juliet, he should have talked to the parents then, but instead he told Juliet to fake her own death. Hello, this guy's a priest. All right, these are not very ethical decisions, and therefore Friar Lawrence is the most to blame. Another reason, body paragraph B, another reason, reason number 2, that Friar Lawrence is most to blame is because he, as a priest, would have had training in communication and therefore could have communicated with everyone better. So then I would go on to talk about how, when Romeo shows up and says, hey, I need you to perform a wedding ceremony, and he finds out that it's not even the girl that he liked yesterday, as a matter of fact, but today he is in love with Juliet, even though he just met her and kissed her, and he wants to get married now. And instead of Friar being like, dude, are you kidding me? You just met her like 5 hours ago. No, he says, okay, sounds good. Now, Friar knows that the families are arguing. Does he communicate with the parents? No, he does not. He just marries them in secret and tells them to keep it on the DL. Okay, not very good communication. Also, once Romeo kills Tybalt and is banished to another city, and Juliet is totally distraught, instead of communicating with the parents at that point, no, he says, hey, Juliet, why don't you just fake your own death so that way I won't get in trouble for it. So he's not communicating with anybody. As a priest, as a holy man, he would have received an education and would have been expected to have difficult conversations with people as his role as the head of the church, but he didn't. Okay, now my next body paragraph is going to be all about the counterclaim. So this is really important because, like, you are if you're trying to persuade somebody, they don't believe what you believe. So you need to say, hey, listen, I get this and this and this and this, and those are valid points, and you should argue them as the other person would. So if I'm going to argue as my counterclaim, some people would say that Romeo and Juliet's parents are responsible for the deaths of the teens. I now want to argue in my counterclaim legitimate reasons why somebody would blame the parents. So I could say something like, Juliet told her parents that she didn't want to get married, and her parents were like, too bad, you're getting married. Then they set up a party for her and said, hey, we're inviting all of the eligible bachelors from the Capulet side, and you should be looking for someone. And P.S., we really like Paris, so make sure that you get a good look at him and maybe talk to him. All right. Then the families absolutely hated each other. They fought. There was, brawling and killing among the families. And so they were just adamantly opposed. They didn't even care. They weren't even going to have a conversation like, oh, you like this guy? He might be nice. Like, too bad. We don't care. And it was the same from Romeo's side as well. So we could say that because they were so close-minded and forcing Juliet's parents forcing her into a marriage that she didn't want, that ultimately they can take some responsibility for that. But I can't end my counterclaim paragraph with arguments against what I'm saying. I have to refute it again. So I say, however, while they surely had an influence on the tragic demise of Romeo and Juliet, Friar Lawrence is still more responsible for it because he could have had such a positive influence on those kids and just chose the easy way out. All right? So I have to have that counterclaim in there. Now I introduced a counterclaim in the introduction short paragraph. I have body paragraph C, the whole body paragraph, except for the last line, argues that counterclaim, and then I refute it. And then in the conclusion, I'm going to mention the counterclaim again. So you got to have that counterclaim in there 3 times. So I'm just going to flip-flop my my conclusion paragraph. I'm going to end it with the attention getter. I'm going to start it with the counterclaim and the refute. So I'm going to say, while it is a logical argument that Romeo and Juliet's parents made their relationship difficult and could have influenced their decision to commit suicide, Friar Lawrence is clearly the most responsible of anyone because of the unethical and deceptive decisions he made with the teens as well as their parents. Now, I got to end it with my attention getter, so I could say something like, this is why no sadder tale has ever been told than that of Juliet and her Romeo, which that's a line from the play. I paraphrased it. But, I could just say something even more simple like, after I give the counterclaim and I refute, then I say something like, it's clear to see how love can end in tragedy. Something like that. Okay? So that's how you're going to set that up. And it's important stuff for preparing you. All right? So we're going to get you to be able to do this independently by the time the test comes along. And I think it's going to be okay. All right? We'll start easy. We're going to start with a pizza argument